Lisa, let me start with you first. Is there any number that you think is going to accurately reflect what's really going on in the market right now, or are we kind of just guessing and doing our best here?
Both. I reserve my right as an economist to say on the one hand and on the other, it's going to be both. We are certainly, I think, going to have some information about the direction. So I think that will be unmistakable. But the precise direction and number are going to be hard to say. And that's because of all the uncertainty that they were just talking about. And even what to call it, I thought was an interesting conversation, because are these jobs that are reinstated? Are there jobs that are reinvigorated? So we will have less of a point estimate. We have a wide range, but I think we have less of a point estimate.
Hey, Mike, on that point, just the idea that maybe we'll get some directional guidance about how things were for last month. But as Steve also mentioned, it's not going to tell us anything about the rollbacks and some of these reopenings that's taking place. So how is the market going to look at this, and will it take it with a big grain of salt?
It will, Becky, but I do think that we're still in the zone where the spring back effect should still prevail in terms of regaining many of the jobs that were at some point going to return. The market, keep in mind, right after last month's surprise gain in non-farm payrolls, it had this big burst higher, and that was the high for this recovery rally, because it all of a sudden instilled this idea that maybe it was going to be a faster, smoother reopening process. Since then, the market has completely reassessed that. And if you look at the parts of the market that are most exposed to consumers getting back to work and people traveling and all the rest, they're down 12, 25% if you want to look at hotels, airlines, consumer-type companies. So the market right now is not really priced for, this sort of unending string of great job numbers and reopenings. I think it's a little more back on its heels. But there still is this policy cushion, this sense out there that even if we have to get bridged a little bit further into the future, that we do potentially have the possibility of, on the fiscal side, adding something. Because right now, the economy in aggregate has not paid an enormous price, because incomes have mostly, in aggregate, again, not by household by household, but in aggregate, they've been replaced by the fiscal help.
Yeah, that's a good point. Hey, Lisa, it's going to be a really frustrating time to be an economist, to know that the numbers that you're getting are just kind of ballpark numbers. We're doing our best to try and round this up. But as Steve mentioned, you are talking about millions and millions of job changes and trying to get your arms around that shift. What are the specific sort of numbers that you would dig down on and look for in this report to give you some clues about what's really happening?
Certainly, I'd like to know more about the misclassification to see how many workers were actually unemployed, because that's been the issue, whether they were away from work, absent from work for some other reason, or if they were actually unemployed. So I think we'll get more information about that. But one thing we know is that the data quality is increasing. So BLS is getting closer and closer to the truth. So again, I think we'll have some information about the direction. And I think that, yes, it's a difficult time to be an economist to estimate exactly what the unemployment rate is. But just to be clear, there are times when we have trouble estimating the actual unemployment rate. Let's say August, right? I mean, that's the one that is typically revised often because the surveys aren't filled out. So I think that we're accustomed to having a range rather than a particular number. But I think that we'll have some guidance there. But I think also wage growth. That's a number that I am watching as well. Nominal wage, the nominal wage has not been increasing as much as it should to keep up with productivity. So I think that workers are bearing the brunt of this, and I think that there will be a flat. I think it will probably be flat, but I think that won't be good news.